you can't say there's much positive about them because they're results. This is the results business that we're in, guys. It's as simple as that. It's all about the results.
Manchester United under Ruben Amorim, it has not been good.
It's not good.
Well documented, right? Well documented. 14 losses in 27 Premier League matches, and they failed to win consecutive Premier League matches since he has arrived at the club. It's not what we expect at all for the Red Devils. To break down what has been a crazy day in the Premier League, we bring in our Premier League correspondent, Geoff Shreeves. Geoff, exhale. What a day it was today in the Premier League. Just the results are absolutely insane.
Stefano, I'm just looking at those stats for Manchester United and Ruben Amorim. They are absolutely horrible, aren't they? They make for such poor reading if you're a Manchester United fan. I mean, 34 points from 33 games. That, my friends, is relegation form. It's just, it is not happening. And I don't know where they go from here. And do you know what, for me, the biggest surprise about today was? It wasn't a surprise. This is Manchester United. This is what they are now. There was Ruben Amorim said this week, all the talk around the training ground was the positivity about potentially getting back-to-back Premier League wins for the first time. Back-to-back wins? I mean, how low is the bar set? That's absolutely appalling for a club of Manchester United's stature. And, I mean, again, not surprised, Brentford. Out of the last 4 games there, they've beaten Manchester United 3 times out of the last 4. They've got their number. They did a number on them as well. And after the game, Amorim said, you know, they never settled. They fell into Brentford's way of playing. They never had control. There doesn't look to be any sort of pattern. On the opening day of the season against Arsenal, I thought, okay, there are some signs of cohesion there. It looks like that they've had the pre-season that he's always wished he'd had. He's got the players he wanted. It looked like at last there was some sort of plan. But dear, oh dear, it's just, I don't know. I think Manchester United supporters are looking at each other now. I mean, their love for their club will never ever die. That will never ever change. But they're just exasperated. They want to support the players. They want to support the manager. But look at these numbers. They are just absolutely damning. And it's impossible to look at what's going on and say, OK, well, where and how is this going to improve? Let me ask you two. Where and how do you see this improving under Ruben Amorim, based on what you've seen so far?
I don't see it improving under Ruben Amorim, and that leads me to my question. How much longer does this experiment, this failure continue before they cut the cord, before they send him to that beautiful farm in the country?
Well, Aaron, I just, you know, how much patience have they got? You know, it will be embarrassing for Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the football group, if you like, they took control of football matters. It's that they went out on a limb, they paid a lot of money, they got rid of Dan Ashworth. There's been so many errors in their handling since they've come into the club. At what point do they admit they have made a terrible mistake? And this is just not working. He's not having an impact. And if he is having an impact, it's a negative one. You can't argue. Again, look at those numbers. And look at the play today as well. You know, the manner of the goals that they conceded. So poor by their standards. And, you know, and I go back to what I was saying. The fact that they were talking midweek, you know, this could be the time. This could be the time where we get back-to-back wins for the first time. This is Manchester United we're talking about. And they can't even do that.
That guy's never cutting his hair.
He's never going to be able to cut his hair.
He's going to have to be careful what sort of shoes he wears at this rate, because he's going to be standing on his own hair, isn't he?
You're absolutely right. And it is interesting because it really does seem like nothing seems to go right for the Manchester United side. And the goalkeeping situation is a clear example of that one more time. We've been talking about Andre Onana and how poor he was. He finally leaves the club. They bring in Bayindir and you know, all of their hopes go into this keeper. And now today he gives up definitely one that was on him, maybe 2 that could have been on him. But it's difficult, and it really does feel like it's almost a cursed situation. Whatever decision or whatever tactic they attempt, it almost seems like it does not work out.
Well, Stefano, I don't think anything is working out. The only positive you could take from today is that Šeško scored his first goal for Manchester United. That's it. That's the only positive I can think of. His substitutions baffle many people. I mean, changing a centre-back like for like when you're chasing the game, I don't get that. And Bruno Fernandes' position, this deep position he plays him in, is he really affecting the game from back there? He looked pretty ineffective to me today. So there's more and more questions, and that's the problem. It's more and more of the same. You get glimpses, like the win over Chelsea last week. You think, okay, here we go. But those bursts, those moments of positivity, they're getting fewer and fewer and farther apart. I understand what Amorim's saying. He said in the press conference afterwards, yes, whenever we win, you never talk about the system, and whenever we lose, you talk about the system, which is fair comment from him. But it doesn't matter. Football is all about results. It's as simple as that. And managers are judged on results, and his results are absolutely just not up to the standard of a club of Manchester United's stature. Simple as that. So I wouldn't have thought this situation can continue for long. As to when they decide to make a change, if this continues, it's a case of when, not if, because they cannot allow this to continue.
Now, Geoff, the Manchester United hierarchy will have to have been tempted to make a drive from West London down to the south to maybe tempt Oliver Glasner into popping over after seeing that display against Liverpool. Is there anything that can surprise you about Glasner in this Crystal Palace now?
Yeah, I mean, also, Aaron, you've got to talk about the way he has conducted himself. He's lost a lot of his best players. He nearly lost his captain, Mark Gay, and all he said was very diplomatically, "Gay's like me now. His future is up in the air. Let's see what happens." Clearly wasn't happy with the players that were sold and the replacements that were coming in. But he handled the situation with great dignity. And look at the tune he's getting out of his players. It would be so easy, to be sulky and your first bad result, throw your arms in the air and say, well, sold all our best players. What do you expect? Not a bit of it. He's an absolute credit to his profession. Got on with the job and he's got results. You talk about their unbeaten run at the moment as well. And watching the highlights of this game, they absolutely deserved it. Alisson kept Liverpool in this game for large stretches of it. Adam Wharton, a player who allegedly Liverpool have coveted, dear oh dear, he absolutely ran the show. I mean, you don't see it that often in the modern game. A central midfield player getting hold of the game by the scruff of the neck and running the game. He ran the game. He absolutely ran the game. His influence, his touches were superb. Mateta was excellent as well. But it's just the way Palace went about their business. They were absolutely excellent. Liverpool, they were never really at it. You look at Sarr's goal. He's completely alone. There's nobody anywhere near him. Nobody anywhere. They get themselves back in the game. And then afterwards, Slot said, one player decided to go for a counter-offence. It should have been about defending. But he didn't name the player. He kept talking about this one player who decided that it would be a moment for offence, and that was incorrect. But, I mean, Eddie Nketiah was a very, very popular player at Arsenal. Trust me, he's even more popular at Arsenal right now. He was getting plenty of WhatsApps from his mates from the Emirates. No question about that.
So on the other end of the pitch, obviously, it does make sense that it is Crystal Palace that kind of ends this run of good fortune for Liverpool, despite not playing their best, still getting those wins, those late goals that we've been talking about now for several weeks. It was almost like this was going to come at some point where the defensive errors were going to punish them. It happens at Selhurst Park. Is there more to go into this for Liverpool? Is there a little bit of panic as far as there are some deeper-seated issues that maybe have been kind of glossed over because they're still able to get results in those matches earlier in the season?
Yes, it's a very fair point, Stefano, in that have they been papering over the cracks? And basically what happened to them today is what they've been doing to other teams. Turning it around and late winners. I mean, this man kept them in the game. So I think when you look at the games this season, I mean, you can't be critical of Liverpool because of their results. In a strange way, you go back to Manchester United, you can't say there's much positive about them because of their results. This is the results business that we're in, guys. It's as simple as that. It's all about the results. Liverpool have been getting results, so there's certainly no need to panic. I think if you asked every other team in the Premier League, would you like to swap places with Liverpool right now? They'd say, yes, please. We'll take that. Now the questions will come as to whether or not, I think maybe the way that Palace took the game to Liverpool, that's something for other teams to look at. To have that bravery, to not be cowed by the aura of the champions, not to be afraid of having a go at them, because you might get something from them. Let's see where they go from here. It's a million miles from a collapse or a need to panic. Of course it isn't. Arne Slot's a very good trainer. He may also, right, okay, we've been getting away with this. We get to the training ground, we work hard, and we iron out these problems, and we stop giving up chances. Other teams haven't taken these chances. Let's stop this right now. And he could turn it around. Or they could persist and other teams might start to take those chances. Equally, I know Manchester City won today, obviously, and won well in the end. But if Arsenal don't take this chance tomorrow, if they don't beat Newcastle United, and that's a tricky game away from home, then that is not such a bad loss for Liverpool at all. Again, I know I'm like a broken clock, but it's results. If Arsenal don't take advantage, for Arsenal, means nothing.
All right. Fair point. Geoff Shreeves breaking it all down for us on an absolutely crazy Saturday in the Premier League. Cheers, Geoff.
Cheers, Geoff.
Cheers, guys.